Hi everyone, this is Navila Zaman and this is lesson number 2 of respiration. And now, without any further delay, let's just get started. In the previous video, we talked about aerobic and anaerobic respiration and why do we need to do anaerobic respiration. Now, if you haven't watched that video, it is given in the description box below, so make sure that you do watch that video before watching this. And in today's video, we will start with what happens when we exercise. Now, muscles need to contract, which requires energy from respiration. When exercising, the muscle contractions increases and therefore there is a greater energy demand, which means that the muscles need a greater supply of oxygen for aerobic respiration. The human body reacts to this increased demand for oxygen in a number of ways. The breathing rate and breath volume increases during exercise to increase the amount of oxygen absorbed into the bloodstream by diffusion and the amount of carbon dioxide removed. The heart rate increases so that more oxygen is supplied to the muscles by blood. And when exercising vigorously, the body is not able to supply sufficient oxygen to meet the demand for energy in the muscles. And in this situation, what happens is that both aerobic and anaerobic respiration is carried out. And this results in the formation of lactic acid as glucose is incompletely oxidized. And lactic acid builds up in our muscles. And during long periods of vigorous activity, our muscles become fatigued and they become really tired and they stop contracting efficiently as a result of increased level of lactic acid building up. Now we are going to talk about that what happens after the exercise. Now lactic acid, as I have said, has built up in our muscle cells. Now this is really harmful for our body. This is toxic as it removes or it lowers the pH of the cells. It makes them more acidic. It also denatures the enzymes in cells, so it needs to be removed. Blood takes the lactic acid to the liver where it is oxidized and it produces carbon dioxide and water. So we still breathe heavily at an increased rate because extra oxygen is needed to oxidize the high amount of lactic acid in liver which is brought from the muscles. Now this extra carbon dioxide that is produced also has to be removed from the body. And we also have a higher heart rate because extra oxygen needs to be pumped to the liver by the heart to oxidize lactic acid faster, and also all the lactic acid from the muscles need to be pumped to the liver so that it can be oxidized. Now the product of anaerobic respiration in muscles is lactic acid. And when we exercise vigorously, our muscles have a higher demand for energy than when we are resting or exercising normally. And our bodies can only deliver like so much oxygen to our muscle cells for aerobic respiration. And in this instance, as much glucose as possible is broken down with oxygen, and some glucose is broken down without it, and which produces lactic acid instead. And in this case, both aerobic and anaerobic respiration is carried out. The lactic acid, as I have said, builds up in our muscle cells and it lowers the pH of the cells. This lactic acid needs to be oxidized. And this amount of oxygen that is needed to oxidize lactic acid that is produced as a result of anaerobic respiration is known as the oxygen debt, which is also known as excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, EPOC. Now, lactic acid builds up in muscle cells and it lowers the pH of the cells. And this could denature the enzymes as well, so it needs to be removed. Now, cells excrete the lactic acid into the blood, and the blood takes the lactic acid to the liver where it is oxidized, producing carbon dioxide and water. Lactic acid reacts with oxygen and therefore it is oxidized, and the waste products of lactic acid oxidation are carbon dioxide and water. And this is the reason why we continue to breathe heavily and our heart rate remains high even after finishing exercise. And we need to transport the lactic acid from our muscles to the liver and continue getting larger amounts of oxygen into the blood to oxidize the lactic acid in the liver. And this is known as repaying the oxygen debt. So, in summary, the lactic acid is being taken to the liver. In the liver, the lactic acid is being oxidized. As a result, carbon dioxide and water are produced, and our heart rate increases. And that is how we repay the oxygen debt. And this is the end of this chapter, respiration, and we will also have a problem solving class for respiration soon. In the next video, we are going to start human gas exchange, which is very much related to respiration. So do like and subscribe to our channel, and thank you so much for watching the video. Bye.